Hello and welcome to the Connection podcast series. Today we are looking at inside-outside printing, specifically with the growth of e-commerce. I'm delighted to be joined by Steve Biller. Steve is a senior product manager with BW Paper Systems, looking after their global finishing. Steve, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Steve, let's start with a little bit of background. Obviously, e-commerce over the last few years, I know particularly some numbers that are coming out of the States that we're seeing massive growth from 14% of the US total retail sales has grown to 21% in the last few years. So give us some overview as to why the development of inside-outside printing has come about, and is it really as new as we think it is?
Well, thanks, Dan. Great to say hello to everybody. Yeah, it is really staggering what you see as far as e-commerce and how it's transforming the market. Yeah, it's been probably the last 5 years since we've really seen that trend of inside outside on the printing. But very astute of you to make the comment. It's really been around for a long time. The U.S. Postal Service boxes, as an example, they've been printed on the inside and outside for 15 years, if not longer. So it's not necessarily something new. I think I would probably define it as it's maybe something that we've done a long time that's really gained a lot of traction and gained a lot of market exposure, simply because of the need for our customers to provide this for their customers and the need for them to do it efficiently. And that's really the thrust behind it.
And Steve, you obviously referenced there the US postal system, that they were using inside and outside, but in the past, converters were having to run that as a multi-pass. So they were printing one side, flipping the sheet, possibly printing the other side. But obviously there's been this big push now to try and implement equipment and solutions that are printing both sides of the sheet in a single pass.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One thing that e-commerce has done to you, our customers, is the demand is such. I've had a number of companies tell me it's very difficult just to keep up with the demand. So if you're going to be running things two pass, you've by definition doubled your production or cut your productivity in half, whichever way you want to look at it. So having the ability to not have to double pass for an inside outside application is huge. I mean, huge. As an example, what drove us to this was a customer that ran millions of boxes for an at-home food service, and they ran those two pass. So by getting the ability to run these millions of boxes one pass opened up a tremendous amount of opportunity or capacity, if you would, for them to go after other business. And that was really for us what started the entire, let's call it landslide of inside out printing.
And Steve, I think looking at the industry as a commentator, obviously the advent of digital print, particularly driven by the likes of HP and EFI, that they were really pushing very hard on branding and branding messaging. And I think what's been really noticeable, and I think this is where the traditional analog OEMs have really picked up and run with this, is this ability to be able to print a single color on effectively the outside of the box and put all the glamorous graphics on the inside of the box because of this new phenomenon, or relatively new phenomenon of the unboxing experience.
Oh, yeah.
We see it all over social media, don't we? The unboxing experience.
Yeah, it's from a 42-year veteran. It's a little bit crazy for me to watch that because I look at it and say it's just a box, but we all know it's much more than a box. And now it's become this craze of the unboxing experience. But yeah, you're bringing up some very good points right now with the flexographic process. What we can do is we can print on the outside and inside. And we do see a number of customers printing just a simple informative graphic on the outside of the box. And then you open it up and bam, there's a beautiful glossy multicolor print on the inside. And that's quite different than how you would traditionally think about it, but it makes a lot of sense. Another unfortunate video we see a lot is videos of people stealing boxes off people's front porch. And if you can show that nice product when you open the box rather than having a potential thief see it on the front porch, that's always a plus. The other great comment you made is with Flexo we can do the same graphic over and over again. Digital is very interesting because digital you could theoretically have every inside of the box be different. I'm not a person who used e-commerce a lot, but with the whole COVID lockdown and everything in this new world, I did use it a lot. My wife and my family used it a lot. But what we're seeing is when you order that item off of Amazon or whomever you use, you immediately get a bunch of pop-ups of you bought this, you might like this, or others have bought this. Wouldn't it be great to be able to do that on the inside of the box? When you get your new internet camera, it says, hey, you bought this, others have bought that. And I think that's ultimately where this is going to go. And then the other thing that we get asked quite often is our customers would like to put IDs, unique IDs on every single box for tracking purposes and a variety of other reasons. And I see this giving them that ability in the future as well, but we're not there yet.
Steve, let's move our attention a little bit towards more of the technical side of
Sure.
inside-outside printing. And obviously, I'd like to try and look at this quite holistically from an OEM point of view. So basic question that I'm sure a lot of converters are asking is, if I've got a 4, 5, 6-year-old multicolor case maker, flexo folder gluer, is it possible to retrofit an older machine with an inside print unit? I mean, is it as simple as just putting in an extra unit?
Yeah, I am accused of oversimplifying things by our engineering group. So technically, yeah, it sounds that simple. In reality, it's not that simple. It's something we can do. It's something others can do as well, for the sake of full disclosure here. It just depends on how old the unit is, how it's configured. If the supplier wants to put the engineering into potentially what could be a one-off purchase. How we've done it, I can't say how our esteemed competitors have done it, but what we've done is we've said anything built in the year 2000 and up, we can do. Anything prior to that, we'll do it on a case-by-case basis. And right, wrong, or indifferent, that's just the kind of the rules we had to put. I'm sure there are others that do it differently, and that's great.
And Steve, looking at new machinery, because obviously this phenomenon, it doesn't matter whether you're in Europe, whether you're in America, whether you're in Asia, it doesn't seem to matter. There seems to be an awful lot of investment taking place at the moment for multiple colors, inside out printing. So when we're looking at new machinery, typically, how do you determine where that inside print unit goes? Is it number 1 unit? Is it the final unit before the rotary die cutter? Is it in the middle of the process? How do you tend to address that?
Yeah, that's interesting. You could ask 100 people, you'd probably get 50-50 on where you want it, and where you put it with Murphy's Law is going to probably be the wrong place. So the way we look at it is we ended up on our gear-driven product lines putting it last, or putting multiple units last. And for the sake of full disclosure, we did that simply because of the gear train. And it made sense and was the easiest and most and the safest path just to put them last. Now, as you get into the servo-driven machines, more, you have much more flexibility because you don't have to worry about a gear train. And I've seen a number of machines from a number of manufacturers where they have them in first or second position. Some have them in last position. Our plan with our servo products is we'll give the customers the option of putting them up front or putting them towards the end. Again, because we don't necessarily have a gear train to contend with. And I can tell you that any product we develop, and I would assume our competitors are doing the same, any product we develop in the future, I have written into the functional specs that it will have inside outside print. That's how how much demand is out there in the market right now.
And obviously, from your perspective as a supplier, what's the approximate split between how many people are doing this on flexor folder gluers versus rotary die cutters, for example?
We're seeing more on flexo folder gluers. If you look at a machine count, if you were to look at a print unit count, it's probably pretty close to 50-50 because we're seeing more inside print colors on the rotary die cutters, which makes sense if you think about
it. And obviously talking about the configurations, flexor folder gluers typically 1 or 2 colors inside, rotaries more than that. So you're seeing 2s and 3s?
Yeah, we have a 4-3 combination out there. I know one of our competitors has something similar out there. So we've seen it all over the board. I underestimated it. When we initially started this, I felt that 1 color would be enough, and I was wrong. We quickly learned that if you're going to do outside inside, that you're gonna need more than 1 inside color, and I missed that. We were able to catch up quickly, fortunately, but that's the case. And I was talking with an industry expert that I respect very highly recently, and he asked the question, why not 1 outside and 5 inside? And say, hey, that's an interesting concept, and I would think that we may see that someday.
And Steve, when you're sitting with your customers and you're analyzing the product mix, the work mix, is there a very clear view of the type of box style that converters are looking to run on these inside outside printers? I mean, is it more RSC or is it more tray work? Are you able to identify which is more prevalent?
No, it's all over the board, Dan. All over the board. We see everything from displays to RSCs to die cut trays. I was at a customer a few weeks ago where they were running solid print on the outside and inside of trays. Not easy to do, by the way. Looks easy, but it's not. And yeah, it's not really isolated to any type of box design. And I think it really lends itself to what we see from customers when we're talking about this. We really have 3 types of customers when we talk inside outside print. We have the customers that have the business and want to be more efficient at it. We have the customers that don't have the business but can get it if they have this capability. And then we have a large group of customers that don't have the business, but if they have the capability, it will come. And that's really the 3 customer profiles that we're seeing for this type of product.
And Steve, when you start talking about that move into, particularly into new markets, surely this is where it becomes critically important that the sales team within the converter is then actually talking to the brands and their agencies about the benefits of this, because particularly when we're talking about the branding opportunities when it comes to e-commerce. Do you think that converters as a whole are doing a good job at interacting with the brand owners to tell them about this capability of inside-outside printing?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, the demand we're getting and the request we're getting, I think, is a good example of that. A funny anecdotal story. I was in an airport, and I had my BW Paper System shirt on, and um, standing there, and somebody came up to me, and they had a converter shirt on, and they said, "Hey, that inside outside print you put up in North America, can we get one of those? They're killing us in the market." And I said, "Well, yeah, sure. Here's your territory sales guy. Give them a call." And they haven't bought one yet, but it's that type of momentum driven by our customer's customer, I think, and some of our customers. We had an independent box company in Utah that bought a 4-color machine, 3 outside, 1 inside, really with the feeling that if we have this, they will come, and it came. And that company has grown and transformed, and it's really a neat story. I think the AICC did a great story on that company, and yeah. So to answer your question, I think our customers are doing an excellent job listening to their customers and taking advantage of the technology today to get them what they're asking for efficiently, I might add.
And are you able to give us some feel, even if it's just your own numbers, but I mean, have you got a feel for, is there a particular market or territory that's accelerating faster than others? So, is the charge definitely from North America, or is it coming from Europe? I mean, what's your, what are the numbers showing us?
Well, I can share our information, and we're seeing it very, very strong in North America, which makes sense. We're a North American based company. We are seeing a lot of momentum in Europe. We get a lot more requests in the last 2 years for this type of configuration than we did before. We've actually sold a couple machines into the European market that have the inside outside capability. And yeah, so North America and Europe, we don't see a lot of requests for it in Latin America and at this time, Latin and South America. But that's always subject to change.
And Steve, do you feel that reference Latin America, is that because the cost of labor is a little cheaper than it is in North America and Europe, where they can afford to do multi-pass?
It could be. I just don't think that the consumer market in those regions are really demanding this type of product. I don't think, and I might be wrong. I don't think e-commerce is big in those areas as perhaps North America and Europe. I just, you may be right to a certain extent, but my experience with Latin America today is capacity is critical. I personally, and again, I might be wrong, just don't feel the market demand is there right now, and that could change.
And Steve, you mentioned that you've got a couple of inside-out machines successfully sold into Europe. I was aware of a couple, one going into Italy, I think. But interestingly, both of those are the new generation of your servo machines, correct?
No. Interesting enough, the 2 in Europe that I referenced are gear-driven machines. They do have servo die cutting, and then the machines that went into Italy are servo technology. Yes.
Okay, and if we come back to just a couple of final points on technicalities. One question that I often get asked when I'm talking to converters is, when you're effectively running an additional print unit, what sort of impact does that have, A, on the running speed, if any? And secondly, what sort of impact does that have on setup times typically?
Yeah, running speed, it has no impact. As a matter of fact, I could maybe even make an argument that you can run a little faster because you got an extra dwell unit to dry before you're hitting the die cut and the anvil, or the slaughter section, however you want to look at it. So I don't see any sacrifice on speed at all. Setup time is, it's really just another print unit, and it's really not a lot different to set up. It's a printing plate or cliche. It's a analog roll, and it's an ink system. It's just upside down. And as you've traveled in Asia a lot, most of the Asian machines are already printing from the top down. So it's not a major thing. One thing that I am seeing though, and I think a lot of it is just for the engineering challenge of it, is I think you're seeing some set while run machines, ours included, coming up, will not have set while run inside print units. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So on the set while run configuration, yeah, I think that could impact the setup time a little bit, but as general, it's just another print unit.
Yeah, because when you look at the mounting of the stereo of the cliche, I mean, it's quite interesting because obviously, as you say, it's back to front compared to what most operators are used to. So, do you tend to find that you're working with customers with the wraparound systems like the Matthews system?
Yeah, I absolutely stress with any customer that buys an inside print unit from us that they buy the full wrap system. And by doing that, you can hook the trail edge first. Gravity is your friend, and just mount the plate like you would mount it on a conventional bottom print unit. You just mount trail edge first and then lock the lead edge in. I push really, really hard for our customers to do that. And I can say, with the exception of one, they have all taken that advice and been happy they did.
Well, Steve, thank you very much indeed. It's been great catching up with you, looking at the impact that e-commerce is having on the corrugated industry. So, Steve, thanks ever so much indeed. And I'm sure that if there's any interested parties who want to carry on talking to you, that the opportunity of Supercore Expo right around the corner, and
Sure.
also FEFCO in October. So, Steve, thank you ever so much indeed for joining us.
Dan, it's always a pleasure, and thank you very much for setting this up.